Welcome to Talking with the Experts. Here we discuss all things business by business owners for business owners. Here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello, welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com.au. Today, my guest is Sam Parsons, and we're going to be talking about bridging the gap in AI adoption for business owners in Australia. Now, Sam is the founder of AI Business School, where he helps Australian businesses adopt AI without the overwhelm. From a young age, he was obsessed with finding effective shortcuts. He grew a mobile car wash business to run on autopilot, largely due to AI and automation, and he became the guy people would ask questions all the time. With a background in workflow automation and a passion for helping businesses grow, he started teaching business owners how to save time and money using no-code tools and practical strategies. Sam runs a community and a training program designed for coaches, consultants, and small teams ready to take the first step with AI. Sam, thank you for joining me on Talking with the Experts. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for having me, Rose.
And we were discussing your background a little bit before we came on, and it's so interesting in how you've gone from, a mobile car wash business to AI platforms.
A couple of years ago, well, just after COVID, started a mobile car cleaning business, and basically took upon myself to solve a problem, which was that car cleaning was really inconvenient for a lot of people, and that led me down a path of personal development and also discovering how I can make that business model work as efficiently as possible for both the end user but also myself. And through that process, I got very intertwined with the details of operations and figuring out how I can make processes better. So I probably forgot to do sales and marketing and got too tight down in the processes, but I made a pretty efficient business out of it. So then I took that and said, look, well, what are some of these things that I've done for myself? How can I apply this to other people and help them with it? Car cleaning wasn't something that I was passionate about. I knew that I wanted to help other businesses, and then at the same time I was getting a lot of questions around, how do I automate this? What is this about AI? So sort of last year I dabbled in how I could help the everyday business owner with, product solutions. So I looked at doing chatbots, bits and pieces at the time, but found that those weren't really novel products or effective, long-term solutions.
I found chatbots horrible. I could never, they were so to process them out just took absolutely forever. There were so many steps in it, and if you missed one, then it wouldn't work. And I tried many chat, and for the life of me, I couldn't work it out to get them to work properly, honestly. So I just gave up. They're too hard.
Yeah. Well, I built some pretty cool ones, and they were good. But I was speaking to the business owner, and they're asking me hundreds of questions about it. I also found that I didn't particularly enjoy just building and delivering that, and it was hard to get the value over the line. So I was like, oh, look, this may be not it. But I'm picking up the pieces of it. I go, and because I was getting so many questions, I was like, maybe there's this massive gap in opportunity for education around this, and who's really educating the everyday employee or team or business owner on what to do with AI. So I took that, and then I was like, well, maybe I can create a program around it, an online training school. So it'd been done successfully in the US. So I used that to sort of inspire what I called AI Business School, which is the brand now, and created a community platform online. And I had a few members, but found that people were not going to commit their time to learning and then applying. So I closed that down. I was like, okay, well, maybe what's next? Again, people were sort of asking for oh, what's the tool? What's the solution? So in the meantime, I got together with a business partner or someone I started exploring business ideas with, and we're kind of on the same path there. And we actually developed an app. So we built an app we never coded before, and we did it in less than 2 weeks. So we had it fully launched and usable for people who are piloting it within 20 days, basically. And the app was designed to make AI really easy and simple for just like the person who's never picked it up before. So they could basically grab tools that were already pre-existing or create their own, and then it would be trained already on their knowledge and brand, as that was part of the onboarding process. So we sort of fell out of love with doing the software side of things pretty quickly and realized there's a lot of work behind it. So, we sort of parked that idea, and then, I kept sort of digging deeper and then, asking more for more feedback. And then business owners were just telling me that they wanted just stuff done for them. So I was like, okay, well, how can I do that? Like, um, offer them some guidance, but also help them implement things. And then I just started offering that as a service, kept the brand AI Business School, and now I'm working with SMEs, even from solo operators up to teams of 60 now, implement AI into their workflows, but also train and educate their teams on it as well. So that's where the journey's taken me, and then I'm still learning as I go. But yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks and couple of months, and particularly this year.
And it's a big jump from one to the other.
Yeah, 100%. It's quite the opposite, isn't it? I think what I realized is doing a service-based business is it still required people. So, I looked at things I did well there and how I could apply that, I guess in another way. And where that led me was helping on a consulting basis, but also doing some implementation and working with other businesses and teams.
It's interesting that how AI has developed in the last couple of years, from being something quite easy to access, but it wasn't very practical to use in the very beginning. But now it's almost got a mind of its own. I have found that it's doing stuff, and doing and being, I think, like real person in some cases.
Yeah, so I mean, there's always new features coming out, new applications. There's a lot of confusion about, what are the right things to use, and even just thinking about like Chat GPT, how far that's come, and some of the new releases, new release features associated with that are just getting quite crazy, quite complex and overwhelming, but also can drive a lot of performance within a team environment. So in a lot of ways, it's been a good thing, but at the same time, it's been harder than ever to keep up with all the change.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I use Chat GPT nearly on a daily basis, and I'm finding that they're adding new features to it all the time, and so you've got to get your head around all these new things that they're doing. And for the people who are maybe less tech savvy than you and I, that could be quite challenging.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I guess like the analogy I use is like if you give someone a drill and you say build a house, you've still got to have the knowledge, the materials, the understanding of how to put that house together. So, it comes down to a lot to do with how the user knows how to use the platforms more than anything. They're not, you can't just pick up and go with them. That's why we do help people understand how they can better use these tools for their daily productivity and also within their, team environments.
AI, I guess, if you have a look at it in realistic terms, AI has been around for a long time, but it wasn't used to the extent it is now. But so, how can business owners spot AI opportunities within their businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, it comes down to picking the areas where it's going to have the most impact. So, we usually refer to that as like the high impact areas that are low effort. That's where you really want to start, and to really identify that and really dumb it down and make it simple. Uh, is to really just pick the tasks that you do every single week that are repetitive, you don't like doing, they take more than 10 minutes in a time, and then figuring out what tools or solutions could work with that. And then it's finding out what works best for you. A lot of people jump that step and they just go straight for the tool. They just pick up something they think will work and try and figure it out for what from there. But if it's not making practical use in your work day, I recommend figuring out where those bottlenecks are first within your team environment or your own work before you start discovering where AI can help you.
Yeah, and so what are the right tools? How can we pick the right tools?
So there's a few ways you can do this, and look, there's the internet, which has a lot of resources. There's some sites as well that you can sort of punch in a keyword and it'll come up with a tool or solution. But look, YouTube's a really good resource for finding out. If you say you've got a particular challenge, like how do I draft my emails? There's probably some videos explaining, some different tools you could use there. But then again, it comes down to a little bit of preference because there are going to be tools that are similar and competitive, that may not work better inside your work environment or your existing softwares that you already use. For example, you've got Chat GPT, but you've also got Gemini inside Google Workspace. So you might find that Gemini is going to be more practical for you. So when it comes to that, finding what's going to work best for you, it's a little bit of trial and error.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'm an early adopter of most things, but I haven't tried Gemini and I haven't tried Copilot yet. Only because I've not heard or read very good reviews on either of them. But then again, you're right. It depends on what you need it for, or your style of business or your style of how you work with things. So how can we master the task-specific productivity with AI?
It just comes down to a bit of practice. Everyone's sort of going to use it differently, and there's not one way to do things. When it comes to just getting started, that's probably the more important thing. Take a small win, take a small step, get used to using that tool. Maybe you want to pick one or two that could solve your problem, and then focus on one because you prefer it. And then it's just practice, practice, practice. And obviously there's resources out there and opportunities to get educated with these things to speed up that process. But again, look, there's also things like YouTube where you can go and find more information about how these tools work. There's lots of opportunity for getting to understand how this works. And the only thing I wouldn't recommend is just asking a friend. But you could be led down the garden path a little bit. So just be careful there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like you never ask anyone, friend or family, advice on your business processes because they'll give you what they think is the right thing when it's actually not.
Yeah.
Now, you've seen firsthand how business owners feel overwhelmed with AI. How can we break it down into clear and actionable steps that's easy to understand?
Yeah, absolutely. So we like to work with businesses and actually map out their processes. Again, on a smaller scale, it's just picking the things that are bottlenecks in your workday or bottlenecks in your systems and focusing your efforts around that. Um, you know, where you can get distracted, there's probably thousands of things inside your work or your business that you could automate or use AI for. But what it's going to come down to is, picking the tasks that again are high impact, maybe require a little bit less effort to do. That's where you want to focus your time and effort for now, and not really get distracted with the hype and chasing shiny objects. We talked about chatbots before being a really big thing about 12 months ago, and everyone wanted a chatbot because they thought that's what AI could, do their sales on their website. But the reality is it's probably not making as big an impact for most people as they probably thought. So, that's just an example. Maybe you want to focus on, if you're getting hundreds of calls a day, where AI could assist in that department.
Yeah, I've got a thing on my website where people can ask questions. I'd rather they send me an email rather than have automated responses because I don't think you can predict every question that is ever going to ever be asked. So, I'd rather they just send an email, but, that's my preference. But a lot of people have the automated, uh, you know, assistants on there where they answer questions. But I found that sites that use that can be a little bit frustrating. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, AI can't really replace everything that we do. It's only there to really assist, and I like to think of it that way. When you get it to replace an entire task like customer support, just like a human, there's going to be room for error. So a little bit of that comes down to how you set it up, but a little bit of that comes down to the fact that it's AI. It's just making an interpretation of the data. So, but at the same time, there's pros and cons to going in each direction. If you need to hire a person to fill that position or role, there's cost to that. They can also make mistakes. They're only available for a certain amount of time. So, these are all the things you need to weigh up when making those decisions.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that is true. The cost of actually hiring someone to be able to answer all the questions, but I guess, a little bit old-fashioned. I still like that human contact. I mean, I don't like ringing up someone and press one for this and press one for something else and press five for, it, you spend 10 minutes on the phone before you get to speak to a human, and for people of my generation find that a bit confusing and a bit frustrating. I think we still like that human connection.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And look, high touch businesses, maybe the areas you want to focus on are behind the scenes because of that reason. And there's been plenty of horror stories around people automating their voice agents to do outbound calls, and that leads to, bad brand awareness and, lost deals, all those sorts of things. So there's all these things you need to weigh up again when making those decisions.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Sam, love for you to share any stories or practical examples that you've come across that make and help businesses with the first steps in AI.
Yeah, absolutely. So an example of where you know businesses can understand where they can take a practical first step. One that comes to mind is speaking with a fractional finance officer, and one of the biggest challenges he had was he was doing these business audits for his clients and new clients as well, and look, it was quite an intensive process. There was a lot of interviewing, writing notes, taking and then reproducing that inside of a report that he was going to deliver to the client. Now, he looked at a different system for that, and it was going to cost him $5,000 every time he wanted to generate that single report, which is just ludicrous, insane. So, we got together and we talked about how potentially, based on his actual process, we could find a way to get the same outcome or a similar outcome without, having to outsource to this tool. So, yeah, when it comes down to, those examples, I think, just looking at tasks that are admin heavy and processes that do have a lot of steps, where there's hold points where you got to transfer data or, you require another person to come in. These are all the things that, we look at as well when it comes down to finding out where the biggest problem areas or the bottlenecks are inside a business.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great way to do the bottlenecks are the issue, really, aren't they? And when and how to find the pathways to for the best outcomes, and AI can be quite helpful with that. And I found that just using Chat GPT, and I get stuck on something, and I just ask it a question, and it usually gives me a process to go through. So, I'd love to hear more about your app that you've created.
Yeah, so we created an app called Sale, and the reason why we created that app was we found that people who are just picking up ChatGPT or AI for the first time, there was a really gap in understanding. It wasn't really easy to figure out the layout and the concept. So a little side project that we created was called Sale, and we basically gave it to 20 users to sort of reverse how they would use that tool, rather than logging in and finding a dashboard where they were just like, what's this over here? Where's this? Blah, blah, blah. We would basically onboard them through the platform, and then they had access to existing agents, or we call them helpers. And then they could also create their own quite simply without having to figure out, what's inside every single feature that's inside Chat GPT. So it was an interesting side project. We had some good feedback about it. Unfortunately, we just put it to the side for now, but sales helped a lot of people just get that first initial contact with AI, make it super easy for them to understand and use, which I think is one of the challenges when it comes to picking up these tools. There's so many of them out there. There's no one from OpenAI that trains you on how to use ChatGPT, is there? There's no customer support. So we just wanted to make a difference there, and we created Sale because of that.
So will you be progressing with it? Will it be available on the market anytime in the future?
At the moment, we just basically did a pilot phase to sort of test, whether people found it useful or not, and then we're potentially going to look at where we can introduce it into a specific market or segment, and we would probably look to focus on a niche in particular, where a tool like that could be useful, that overcomes those having to have those educational barriers that come with just picking something off the shelf. It's already sort of set up, ready to go for that particular role or industry.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Good luck with it, and I hope it comes to fruition sometime.
Yeah.
If you want to find Sam, you can find him on LinkedIn, on his website at aibusinessschool.com.au, and you can join him on his community at aibusinessschool.com.au. Sam, is there anything you'd like to share other than what we've discussed today with our audience?
Yeah, look, just a word of advice, like if you're someone who's just exploring AI or just getting used to it, the important thing is to just start. AI will transform the way we work, the way we live. There's a lot of challenges that are going to come with it, but we're already seeing the benefits of early adopters that are taking this by the horns and really making it part of their business and their work day. So I guess a bit of a call to action just to really embrace what this technology can do. Everyone sort of knows there's risks and concerns around it, but it's probably going to outweigh those in a lot of ways, that to make us all a bit more productive and enhance what we can actually do and achieve. So take that step and get started.
Yeah, absolutely. I think AI is the way of the future, and I think the people that are frightened of it are frightened of it for the wrong reasons. I don't think it's not going to do away with that many jobs, because we still need that human connection. So
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Sam, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Rose.
Bye for now.
All right. See ya.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time.